What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's been quite a while. It's officially 2025, which is such a weird year. I'll be graduating in just about 2 years because I'm in a special program, so I still got college. But I thought right before my college picks up some steam, we would go ahead and we will record a video that I've been really trying to record for quite a while now. It's this review on this MTH Rail King auxiliary water tender. But I really held out until I got matching passenger cars, so I didn't make a 5-minute video on this and a 45-minute video on this. I would just do it all at one time and just review it all at once. Now, you may only see just 2 passenger cars here. However, I picked up the full 9-car set, 8 passenger cars, the box car, for a very good price on eBay from a seller. I thought he was fantastic, great to work with. So, with that all being said, let's go ahead. Let's check out this auxiliary water tender and passenger car set right now. Alright, so the first thing we're going to take a look at is this awesome MTH Rail King auxiliary water tender. Alright, so I just moved away the passenger car so we can focus on the auxiliary water tender. Now, obviously, this is an MTH water tender, and it's not the Lionel auxiliary water tenders that they have. Well, the reason why I went with the MTH one is because it's Rail King. Rail King is MTH's semi-scale line, except for their Rail King scale line that they have. But this is their Rail King Union Pacific water tender that they created when they did their line of big boys. The reason why I chose this one specifically is because I thought it was a really neat auxiliary water tender. Now, obviously, it's not prototypical of the Challenger, because the Challenger had a black auxiliary water tender. But I really wanted to get the yellow one because I thought it would be really neat in case I ever picked up, let's say, an FEF Northern or a big boy later on down the line within the next few years. So I really want to just future-proof myself by buying this. And also, I thought it was really cool because it has this big swooshing American flag on the side, and the silver trucks with the yellow body looks really cool. And it just helps give a little bit more character variation when pulling our string of MTH passenger cars. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the features and what this piece has. This piece has, of course, tons of separately applied handrails, which you can see with right here. I'm just going to use a pen for today. You have tons of separately applied grab irons all along the top here. Here you have, this is where, if you were running this with the MTH locomotive, if I pick this up, this is the coupler. This side right here is what you would use, because down below right here, there's a port for, right there, there's a port for where you would plug in a tether that comes off the bottom of their big boys. Now, the big boy would obviously have its normal tender. If I were to just grab my Challenger tender right here, it would look something kind of like this, and there would be a tether that comes from underneath here and runs to right there. But we're not running this with the big boy, we're running this with the Challenger. So of course, and it's also a Lionel, you can't hook up that feature. So really, this is just a giant piece of rolling stock for me. It's just a giant big hunk of nothing of metal. But there is an operational backup light here along with a proto-coupler down here on the end. Of course, also on this tender, there are ladders on both ends. The trucks are die-cast metal. This whole thing is a piece of die-cast metal. This whole shell. This is probably as heavy, just about the same weight as my Union Pacific Challenger tender. This thing is a hunk of metal. I love it so much. There's chains that dangle from the underside here. You can see it. There's one right there. There's tons of chains all over this. The only one thing that looks a little bit goofy is that all of my truck side frames on all my passenger cars have this black side frame, while this has that silver, which doesn't really bother me as much, but it's just a little bit goofy when you have this whole black train. You got this yellow tender just sitting here in the middle. So, with that all being said, let's go ahead and let's check out the passenger cars that will match this whole train, and the boxcar too, because I have that. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at that right now. Alright, so here we have the first of 8 passenger cars, and we also have our boxcar to take a look at, which we'll look at the very end of looking at all the passenger cars. Now, There are a total of 8 passenger cars, with 5 of those being a different type of passenger car. We, of course, have the baggage car. We have 3 coach cars, 1 observation car, 1 dome car, 1 sleeper car, and a diner car. Now, we're going to only take a look at just 1 coach car instead of all 3, because really, it's the exact same, but the difference is there's just a little bit of a number variation. So we're not going to look at all of those, we're going to look at each car separately of a different mold. So first one we're going to start out with is, of course, this baggage car. So, of course, you can see that this is the Union Pacific paint scheme. It's the Greyhound Challenger paint scheme that Union Pacific ran for their Challengers when they ran passenger service. This is really just a simple car. It's just got some very basic uh, features. You've got these little nubs on the top right here to help kind of pop out the mold. You have rubber diaphragms on the each end of each car except the box car. The doors on these, of course, open up. I really recommend it because they are kind of sticky. There are interior lights on each car, and they are all illuminated. Of course, there's operating die-cast couplers on the ends of each car, and these are really strong couplers. If you just pick up the car, you've got this very nice silver lining that runs down the length of the whole train. It looks really cool when you have light reflecting off it. It's kind of got like that shine to it. Of course, you got the very legible Union Pacific here at the top, and you got the road numbers or the names of some cars here at the bottom. Very simple, streamlined cars. I love these. You've got grab irons on the tops on either end. You got one here. You got 2 here. Of course, you got grab irons on the ends of each car. There is the end of a car right there. None of the doors are open, and none of the doors open on the cars, which is just fine. But these cars actually have a really good, decent gap. Pretty close gap when running with each other in consist. So I thought that's really, really nice to have when running these cars. The underside of these cars, very basically detailed. You just got a little bit of underbody detail. You got a few holes here for screwing. Of course, you have pickups, 1 per truck. Of course, all of these are freely spinning. But really, very basic car. It's not very high tech, and it doesn't have to be. It's just the baggage car. This is where no one's gonna be in this. It's just gonna be all of your baggage. So really, this is just a very basic car. But it's a very crucial car to have, of course, in any passenger train. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the first of 3 coach cars that we'll be taking a look at. So here's the first of 3 coach cars, and we'll only be taking a look at just this one today because all the other 3 are pretty much the exact same. The only difference is some road number variation, and that's really it. And really, this is not that much different than the baggage car. You really have the same basic details, however, there are a little bit of differences. For the first difference, you have doors on the leftmost side on ends of either car. So when you're running this car forward with the seats facing forward, you got on the most left end side, so you have 1 door there and 1 door there with no doors on this side. The next feature is that this end has 2 of these little, I'm assuming these are like exhausts for like AC or heat, while this side only has just the 1. But of course, both sides have grab irons on the top, and of course the sides, and of course the same ending diaphragms here on each side. You got the normal rubber diaphragms, the door in the middle that doesn't open, and of course the metal coupler. And of course the underbody details are the exact same on each car, and of course these are illuminated. The difference with this one than that baggage car is of course what we just went over, but also there's chairs in here. Now I like to make this my first class car, so I always put this at the not my first class car, my very first passenger car in my consist, and I never run it the chairs facing forward. I actually run them backwards. And the reason why is because my reasoning is that when the locomotive is running, typically, you're going to have all this smoke. You're just going to see smoke. So I would run the car backwards so you can see a lot more of the scenery and not have so much smoke in your face so you don't see just the back end of a locomotive. But nevertheless, these are great cars. Super happy with them. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the very next passenger car, which will be the diner car. The very next car we have here in our consist is, of course, the diner car. Now, the diner car is what it sounds like. It's where you eat. Throughout the period of a journey, they would open up the diner car for people to sit down, have a meal, and just relax and just talk over some food. Now, of course, we've got the same paint scheme. All these cars have the same paint scheme with this gorgeous silver striping, Union Pacific at the top, grab irons on either end. However, this car does not have a door on either end because there's no point of having the door because this is a middle consist car. Now, of course, you got the same underbody details. It's always illuminated when the track power is on. You of course got metal couplers and of course the doors on the ends of the diaphragms. But the really cool neat details are on the inside with these tables that you have with the chairs. And of course on this end of the car, flip it around, you've got in the inside right there, you've got like these like booth tables, which I thought was really cool. So of course, this is a very stock standard diner car for it. Just a great car. All these cars are illuminated with the same end cap details, with the same underbody details. So I'll be done showing the underside of those. However, let's go ahead and let's move on to my next favorite car, and probably my favorite car in this whole consist, the dome car. Here is, of course, our dome car. The dome car is what it sounds like. It's got a dome on the top. Now, what difference is that this is a normal standard coach car. There's quite a height variation if you hook these up. There's quite a height variation between the two cars. This has this very large X right here, and you can see all of the chairs facing. You got booth down here on that end, and there's like quite a bit height variation. However, this car is dual leveled, which means you got the second level up here, and you also have a lower level down here. The lower level, you have just some very simple chairs with a booth there. And I believe that there is a staircase mold sitting on the inside of the car right here. There's a staircase that you can go down. Well, they can go down on either end of the car, actually. So if you take a look right into here, you tilt the car, you see a staircase mold right there. And of course, you have these chairs all facing this way with a booth style down here on this end, and there is another staircase right here and a booth down on this end. So on either end you have staircase and a booth on either end. Now on one side down here you also have doors, of course, just like our passenger car, with no doors on the other end. So really, this is a really cool piece of rolling stock. I love this passenger car. There's also a few mold variations with down here at the bottom. And this car isn't numbered, but has a name. It's called Treasure Island. Why is it called Treasure Island? I have absolutely no clue. You're asking the wrong guy, pal. I'm just a 17-year-old kid who likes to play with trains. However, what I do love is the mold on these cars. I think they're absolutely gorgeous. I love just the way these are. It reminds me very much of like an Amtrak car, with the way the truck is recessed into the mold and the shell, how the cars are kind of lower to the track than the normal ones. I thought that's just really, really neat, and I thought it was just really cool and different. If MTH ever did make a second run of these 16.5-inch passenger cars in this Greyhound gray with the same paint scheme, I would definitely pick up the add-on cars. Not the 4-car pack, because I have all the cars I need, but I would definitely pick up all the extra 70-cell cars, because this is a really cool set, and I would love to have a huge mammoth train just to have. So that all being said, let's go ahead and let's check out the sleeper car right now. Alright, up next we of course have our sleeper car. The sleeper car doesn't really look that much different than a normal coach car. However, there are differences. The first of being which is that inside each of the booths here, the chairs actually face each other. There's a wall also, if you flip the car, on this side. It looks like it's just a giant piece of wall, but really there are actually small little details, like openings down there for people to get in and out. There's also, of course, doors on one end with the rubber diaphragms, and the same underneath side. Really, this is just very basic sleeper car. I really like this car. My dad and I originally thought the light bulbs were out on this car because when we were running the train, we saw the back side of the car and there's not really a lot of lighting. So we really thought the light bulbs went out, and the guy told us that everything works and all the bulbs are in great condition and everything. So we really thought there was a problem and we would have to find replacement bulbs. But however, there wasn't. It really was just us not realizing this was the sleeper car, and we thought, oh, the bulbs are broken. But when you run it facing this way, all of these compartments are lit, which is a really, really nice feature. I really like it. It looks gorgeous. I would love to, at a later point, of course, add passengers to all of these cars to help, make it look a little bit more bustling. But for the meanwhile, this is just a sleeper car, and also this car is also named. This is called the National View. Why? I have no idea. Like I just said, I'm just a kid. But this is, of course, is just a great car. I love this set so much. It's just a gorgeous set. So with that all being said, I'm gonna stop rambling and let's take a look at our very last and final passenger car of this set. Last but not least, the most important car I would argue in almost any train, the observation car. This observation car is a little bit different than the other passenger cars. What makes it different is that there is no rubber diaphragm. The car just caps off on this end with a very, very neat way to do it. This is, of course, just a normal passenger car where you can just hang out and lounge. But what I really, really like is that there is a bar on the inside right there. You've got tons of seating here. I'm assuming there's like a bathroom or a barber shop on one end down here, because I know passenger cars typically in the 40s had barber shops on board for like their luxury stuff. But really, this is actually a really neat car. The end of these cars, which I'll set like this, the ends of these cars were capped off with this like bullet-like kind of funnel-like style. They really just came in and just swooped it up, and it looks really, really cool when running. When the car articulates around a curve, it just looks very smooth and very professional. It looks very smooth. Instead of having these sharp corners, it just ran very smoothly, and it looks gorgeous in person. Of course, all the same paint scheme and all the same fidgety jibbities, but there is no coupler down here on the end. Now, what I do see is that there is an arm here for a coupler. If someone has a set like this of 16.5 passenger cars, please drop a comment down below if you know there is supposed to be a coupler coming out here, because there is an opening, so I would think there is a coupler, but I could be wrong. But I'll stop my rambling and we'll continue to talk about this car. There are 3 marker lights. There's this middle one right here, there's one on this side, and the one right here. These are all illuminated along the whole car. It looks really cool when running at night. And here on the end, you have an emergency door with some chairs on the side right there facing out the back. So you could really just watch the train just roll away, which I think is really cool. Underbody detail, the exact same. So, with that all being said, let's go ahead, let's put this consist together. Let's fire up the Challenger and let's roll this sucker out. Let's go. Before we go ahead and we fire up the locomotive, I thought we would have to pick out the last piece of rolling stock, which is really just a normal Rail King boxcar. It's an off-center door boxcar, so the doors are a little bit more towards the left side of the car when opening it. And the doors, of course, do open. Very standard boxcar. So really, there's not much. A little bit of underbody detail. Looks pretty much like what everyone's using nowadays with this underbody detail. The car, of course, has metal couplers, die-cast truck, and the trucks are sprung too. So really, there's not much to this car. Almost forgot about it, to be honest. But nonetheless, we're going to be running this with the set since it is one of the matching cars. Now, let's go take a look at and fire up the Challenger.
Tower, made up and waiting on a clear track. Am I clear to make a move? Over.
Roger, your track is clear. Just got your arm.
Roger. I've got a clear signal. Out.